Good morning, kiddos. Welcome to Children's Time. Um, we are now out of Lent and past Easter. And in the church, that means that we're still in the season of Easter. It isn't just one day, it's actually one of the church seasons on our calendar. You can see the calendar behind me, that big section of yellow, that is the season of Easter. So we're going to be in that for a few weeks. So our story today is an after Easter story. So it's after Jesus' resurrection. Um, and this is one of the first stories where he actually appears to the disciples after that he has been resurrected. So I actually remembered to bring my little friend Squiggles today. Here he is. So he's going to read our story with us. And if you follow along in the Spark Bible, we are going to be on page 492, page 492. And the name of our story today is Doubting Thomas. So here is our picture. And I think this guy in the middle is probably Thomas. And he's like, And I think what Thomas is doubting is that Jesus is actually um, come back from the dead. And the other guys that are around him are the disciples saying, it's true, it's true. And even look at Squiggles. He's like, it's true, Thomas, it's true. So let's go ahead and read our story and see what it has to say. All right, Doubting Thomas. The disciples were hiding in a house the night Jesus rose from the dead. They were afraid. Bam! They locked all the doors. But Jesus came and stood by them. Peace be with you, he said. The disciples looked up in surprise. Jesus showed them his hands and his side so that they knew it was him. So remember when Jesus was crucified and they put him on the cross, he actually had wounds in his hands from where they had nailed them to the cross and in his feet. So he was showing the disciples his hands to say, look, it is me. Here's the wound on my hand. The disciples were very happy. Again, Jesus said to them, peace be with you. God has sent me to you. Now it is your turn to go out and tell the rest of the world about me. Jesus breathed on them in a very special way. He said, with this breath, I will always be in your hearts, even when I am in heaven. Now you have the power to do the things that I have asked you to do. Thomas was the only disciple not there that night. When he got back, the others excitedly told him about Jesus' visit. I don't believe you, Thomas said. I'll believe it when I can touch Jesus' wounds. A week later, Thomas and the other disciples were at the same house. Jesus came again and stood with them. Peace be with you, he said to them. Thomas, Jesus commanded, come here. Give me your hands. Put your finger on the wounds in my hand. Put your hand by the wound in my side. Do not doubt anymore. It's time for you to believe. Thomas's eyes popped open. My Lord, my God! Jesus answered him, you believe because I'm here with you and you have touched me. Think of those who have not seen me, but believe me in me anyway. You should believe even when you cannot see it for yourself. And that is our story. So here's our picture. And there's Jesus, and he's showing Thomas his wound on his hand. And Thomas is saying, it is you, my Lord. I can see you. I believe. But what does Jesus tell Thomas? Think of those who have not seen me, but believe in me anyway. You should believe even when you cannot see it for yourself. So Jesus is talking about all of us. We don't get to see Jesus and have not ever seen Jesus, but we still believe that he exists, just like we believe God exists, even though that we can't see him. So that is our story for today. And like always, I've got a few activities for you guys to do this afternoon or whenever you have a chance. I've got my Easter version of our Spark workbook. And here's our story for today, Doubting Thomas. And our recap of our story says the disciples were afraid, so they hid in a locked room. Suddenly, Jesus appeared in the room with them. So Jesus got into the room even though it was locked. Was it really Jesus? They looked at his hands and his side and knew Jesus had risen. But one disciple, Thomas, wasn't there. Thomas didn't believe that Jesus was alive until he saw Jesus later with his own eyes. My God and my Lord, he exclaimed. And it says, Squiggles feels amazed Jesus is alive. How does your face look when you feel amazed? My face is, oh my goodness, I just can't believe what I saw. So very surprised. So our first activity that I want you guys to do is just a little game. And I've got a cup here. And basically my cup has some slips of paper in it. And have you guys ever played the game charades? So charades is when you get onto a team and maybe there's two people against two other people, and you'll take a cup like this filled with some words, and then you need to act those words out, and you want the person on your team to guess what you're acting out. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So part of our verse today, which I repeated in our story, was blessed are those who have seen and yet believe. So, or I'm sorry, blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. So Jesus was saying, even though you can't see me, still believe in me. So on small scraps of paper, I want you guys to write down things that you know exist, but you cannot see them. And then put all the scraps into a hat or a cup or a bowl, and then take turns pulling a scrap out. And then I want you to act out what you pull out, and hopefully somebody on your team, or you can just play as a group, can guess what you're acting out. So what are some of the things that you know exist, but we can't see them? I'll give you some examples that I wrote down on my cup. So my first one that I wrote down is electricity. So sometimes you can see electricity, like when there's a lightning bolt in the sky, we know that is electricity. Or sometimes even like if you get a shock from a cord, or sometimes we just shock each other, you can see a little bolt of like electric current. But most of the time in our just day-to-day lives, we don't see the electricity running through the wires, but we know that it's there. So that's one. The second, let's see what another one is that I have in here. Another thing that we know exists, but we can't actually see them physically, is emotions. Now we can, I guess, see an emotion when we act that emotion out. So if I'm sad, I may have a sad face, or I may cry. If I'm happy, I might smile. So I guess we can show an emotion by the way that we act, but we can't actually see like love. You know you have a feeling of love, but you can't actually see love out in a physical form. All right, and I'll do one more because I don't want to give a bunch of them away, because then you guys won't have any ideas of your own. The next one I pulled out is music. So we know music exists, and we can see instruments. You can see a piano, you can see a guitar, you can see a flute, but you can't actually see the sound coming out of those instruments that we know is music. So we can hear the music, but we can't see a physical form of music. You can see musical notes written down on paper, but there isn't an actual physical thing that we see when we're hearing that music. So those are some of the ideas that I came up with. You can come up with some more of your own. I think I had about 10 in here. So I don't want to give you any more ideas, because I want you guys to come up with some of your own, and then play that game with your family, and see if you can act those things out. And remember that Jesus said to Thomas, blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Okay. And our last activity for today is another little bit of a game. And we've actually played this game quite a bit in youth group and confirmation. This is one of Pastor Tim's favorite games that he always likes to do with our groups when we get together. And it says, make time for more fun. Play a game of two are true. So take turns saying two statements that are true and one statement that is false. So about yourself. So you say two things that are true and one thing that's not true. And then have your friends or family guess which ones are true and which one is false. So you can also do this with Bible stories. So we could take the story today, for example, and say, let's see, one true thing about the story today was the disciples were locked in a room. So that was true. A second thing that was true is the disciples believed that Jesus was in the room with them. And the third thing was Thomas also believed that Jesus was in the room with them. Well, no, that's not true because Thomas wasn't there, was he? So he did not believe that Jesus was in the room with the disciples. So that would have been an example. So I did some of myself, and I will read them to you, and you guys can guess which one are true and which ones are true and which ones are false. Which one is false? So I wrote 3 different things down. So the first thing I wrote down is my middle name is Marie. So my name I'm saying is Rochelle Marie Bicey. The second thing I wrote down is I have a cat named Oakley. And the third thing I wrote down is I love sweet potatoes. So which ones of those, if you know me, so my family, if they're watching, they will know which ones are true. And some of you might know some of these if you've been around me in Sunday school or youth group or confirmation. You might know a couple of these. All right, you guys give up? Okay, the first one that my middle name is Marie, that is true. I have the middle name Marie, and so does Riley, my younger daughter. Her and I share a middle name. So that is true. The second one, that I have a cat named Oakley, that is also true. If you guys remember my videos from a while back, I've actually showed you pictures of Oakley. We got her about a year ago, so she's still a baby. She's our baby kitty. The third one, that I love sweet potatoes, that is a big lie. I do not like sweet potatoes, so that one was not true. So go ahead and do that with your friends or your family. It's actually really fun. And like I said, Pastor Tim loves this game. And it's fun to play with the youth group and confirmation kids because we get to find out a lot about each other. So if you play with your friends, that's probably one of the best ones to play with because then you can find out things about your friends that you didn't know. Family, it's a little bit easier to play with because most of us, if you live with people, you get to know what they like and what they don't like and what's true and what's false. So it might be a better game to play with your friends. But anyway, that is what I have for you guys today. I hope you have a good Sunday. And next week, I will be doing an online lesson. We are going to start meeting in person for church next Sunday. Not today, but next Sunday, the 18th. We'll have indoor church at 8:30 with just a limited number of people, and then we'll have parking lot church at 10. So hopefully you guys can come and I may be able to see you at church. And even though we're going to start doing some in-person church, we're going to hold off doing Sunday school until probably next fall. But I am going to be having a couple of sessions of Kids Club at the end of April, the last 2 Wednesdays of April, and probably the first Wednesday in May. So if you guys can come to Kids Club, we'll be doing it those Wednesdays from 5:30 to 6:30. So, all right, guys, let's say our prayer, and then I will let you go. Enjoy your afternoon. So let's do it. All right. God, are you there? We know you are. Even though we have, even though we sometimes have doubts, you never do. Thank you, God. Amen. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye.